This week on London Real, we have the English actor and rapper, Ashley Walters.
When I got to be a part of Soul Solid, it wasn't necessarily about music. It was about having a family. It was about having a group of like-minded people that I felt so protected in that crew. No one could touch me. I was now a member of a gang. If I'm honest, I feared for my life. So I just thought, I'm getting a gun. I understood that you didn't go to the police and say I'm being threatened as a young black man, you know what I mean, in those areas. You dealt with your problem yourself. I've never understood why we can go into places like Afghanistan, Iraq, or whatever, shoot at the place, kill bin Laden, do this, do that, or whatever, but we can't stop gun crime in Peckham. I'm sitting in the back of the car with 50 Cent. They put on the presidential lights on the car. Woo, woo, we're driving through traffic, cutting through. This is like, it's like a movie. I got angry, I cried, I called my mom, I got insecure, I went through all these different emotions.
Like 26 years old. I got nothing else to be except this.
My temper is that bad. I don't seem to have a middle gear. I get a red mist and I become someone else. And the scariest thing is I don't fear the consequences. You really have to be prepared for rejection and understand that that doesn't mean that you're no good and that you should stop. It means that you should keep on trying.
London Real presents Ashley Walters, Top Boy.
I think a lot of people can relate to my story because I tell it the way it really happened.
So I've got a bit of a confession to make. Not all guests on London Real are created equal somehow. And in fact, there are certain ones that I get a little more hyped for, or a few more butterflies in the belly than others. I can't really explain why, but it's true. It doesn't always correlate to their number of Twitter followers or necessarily to how many movies they've been in or any of those metrics that you might expect. But let's just suffice it to say that Ashley Walters this week was one of those guys, and about 24 hours into it, I found myself just getting a little more expectant, a little more anxious about him coming over. And about a half hour before the show, I was out in front of London Real Studios, and I was just kind of wondering how Ashley was going to roll up. Is he going to roll up 4 deep in a benzo, or is he going to just stroll by on the street? Or I didn't know how it was going to happen. And true to his nature and the kind of guy he is, he literally walked down the street and was as cool as you would expect Ashley Walters to be. Such a friendly guy, such a guy that made me feel very relaxed right away. And funny, before we had the interview, a self-described kind of a quiet and introverted kind of guy. And it's funny, we talked before the show how when you see a movie star, you see someone on the big screen, even though you know better, you just assume that they are that character. So you assume Ashley is the top boy who's running shit in the fictional housing estate, much like this one behind me called Summer House in Hackney. But or you might assume that Ashley is the guy from So Solid Crew that's outperforming and getting arrested for gun possession when he was 19, 20 years old. But Ashley's 31 now, and he's been through so much, and it's funny, he says that a lot of times people mistake his quietness in real life for him being arrogant in any way, and he's really not. So I told him it was our 200th episode ever in the studio, which is quite a milestone, and Ashley was our first actor ever on the show, and I wasn't sure if it's because I stayed away from actors or we never had an actor come by that wanted to be on the show, but it was a strange mix, and I was always curious whether actors try to have something that's away from the audience. The reason that maybe someone like James Bond, Daniel Craig stays off Twitter, that kind of thing. So it was really interesting to get inside Ashley's head, and I think we really lucked out with with Ashley as far as actors. I don't know many that would really come on and be as honest as he was. This is, for me, one of my top 10 interviews ever on London Real, just because it's exactly that. It's real. You know, Ashley didn't hold back, and he really helped me kind of relive some of the experiences that he had. I mean, when I read on Wikipedia that he gets caught with a gun when he's 20 at So Solid Crew, I just think, oh, that's a stupid thing to do. But when he walks me through how he was literally scared for his life, and by being part of So Solid, he by de facto took on all of their beefs with all these other people. And now all of a sudden he's getting his life threatened and his family and his son threatened, that he feels like he has to carry a gun, and he can't go to the police because you just don't do that if you're, you know, in Brixton in that time period, or maybe even now. So it was really good to get inside his head and walk me through it. And of course he had awesome stories. I mean, how many people, how about you? Have you had 50 Cent try to buy you a Jacobs watch worth $70,000? No, I don't think so. So, you know, it's just amazing the career path he had. And what I find fascinating about Ashley is two things. First of all, he's a survivor. You know, he finds a way through. You know, if you had a hit single at 19 and were basically the greatest thing that ever happened to UK hip hop at that age, would you have made it through without going all Justin Bieber? I don't know if you would have, and he did. Not to mention that he hit the movie tip really hard, and you know, starred with 50 Cent in Get Rich or Die Tryin'. And if you don't remember the 50 Cent era, it was fucking nuts. You know, he was so big, bigger than big. And so to be in that movie is a huge thing. And then finally, you know, one of his crowning achievements so far is Top Boy. And it's something that is loved here in London. It is considered the Wire of London, if you can ever make that comparison to that fabulous television show. But I would say that's not far off. And you know, Ashley does an amazing job portraying that character. When I saw him on television 9-10 months ago as Top Boy, Duchesne, 26-year-old, you know, in the projects over here, I really wanted him on the show, and it really delivered. So I hope you enjoy Ashley. I hope you enjoy this interview. Like I said, it's one of my favorites, and I couldn't have been more happy with how honest he was. So just thanks to you, Ashley, for just coming and being yourself and letting everything hang out there. So very much in the spirit of London Real. I want to give a shout out to the folks that made the website that you might be watching this on, and those are the folks at Squarespace. These guys provide an all-in-one platform to make a fabulous looking website or online portfolio. It's literally drag and drop. I can take photos, audio files, place them in, boom, you can start your own podcast in a matter of minutes. It really is simple. You can go there and set up the website without even using a credit card, and after you do, it's like $8 a month. So do that. They also have logo generation and all sorts of crazy stuff you can do. And if you want to get an additional 10% off that, use the code London. We've just given away a free membership for a whole year to tweets we've had last week for the Ryan Holiday episode. We'll be doing more giveaways in the future. So big shout out to those guys. If you want to check our website under the episode section, you can search by all sorts of different metrics like psychedelics, success, finance, philosophy, and you can see what we've been up to. So big shout out to those guys, and also to the good folks at Bulletproof. Those guys keep me in coffee every day. If you don't know about it, it's a coffee that's free of molds and toxins. You mix in some grass-fed butter and some brain octane oil, and boom, you have this wonderful beverage that I serve to everyone. And it's something I have literally every day. I don't think I've gone a day without it in probably 9 months or a year. So fabulous stuff. Love those guys. They got a great podcast. Definitely start listening to it on iTunes. And they also have a video version. I was on there a couple weeks ago. If you want to hear more about my backstory, you can check that out. So there you go. I'm walking now back onto the mean streets, or not so mean, of Shoreditch. We're about to shoot a Silicon Reel live episode this afternoon. So if you want to see me talking tech, come and join us there. It's kind of fun. It's about 45 minutes, and it's just a nice thing to do when we're not all talking crazy London Real heaviness all week. And there you go. Got more exciting people coming up, like Oren Clough, which will teach you how to pitch anything. And yesterday in the studio, I had Akala, who is a fabulously interesting UK hip-hop, spoken word, highly intelligent gentleman that can drop science from the texts of India to China to history of the US to he can pretty much talk about everything. A writer for the Huffington Post, etc. So excited to have him on. And yeah, that's it. If you want to get at me, I'm on Twitter, on Facebook. Please come help us out. Send me a message at brian@londonreal.tv. And now I'm going to leave you with the London Fire Brigade here in Shoreditch. The good folks here. Drop by and say hi to them sometime. And now I leave you with the top boy himself, Mr. Ashley Walters. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Mr. Ashley Walters, who is an English actor and rapper who burst on the scene in 2001 as Asher D of the UK garage and hip-hop group So Solid Crew at the age of 19.
Yeah.
Okay. With a number one single, it was 21 Seconds. I think you guys sold over 100,000 copies in the first week.
Yeah, it went crazy.
And that was before iTunes?
Yeah. That was before iTunes,
right.
way before
Way
iTunes.
before, right? You then went on to movies. You starred in the film Bullet Boy in 2004. Right. You picked up a British Independent Film Award for Best Newcomer.
Yep,
and then I think it was the next year that you got picked for Get Rich and Die Tryin', 2005 with 50 Cent.
Yep,
I don't know if people remember, but like 2005, like 50 Cent was everywhere.
Yeah, he was huge, man.
He was like
it's the biggest thing.
He was the biggest thing. I think my grandma was wearing a G-Unit shirt.
Oh, really?
It was just, I think people forget how big it was at the time.
Yeah.
Remember, I saw him at Wembley Arena, and he did a show, and he was throwing like his shoes into the crowd, and it was crazy. So I want to hear more about that later, but let me just finish off. You've been on the BBC series Hustle. You've been in countless stage productions, lots of movies, and of course 2 seasons of Top Boy, which if you're not from the UK, it's a street crime drama. It's set right here in Hackney, a little bit further east. It's about life on a fictional housing estate. Some call it the Wire of London, which is pretty high.
That comparison a lot, and that's pretty good.
That's pretty high praise, man, because there's some loyalists when it comes to the Wire.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Fanatics.
I'm one of them.
Me too. Your production company AD82 specializes in talent in the British music and film industries. You're also you're producing films now. You're directing films. Ashley, welcome to London Real.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. It's actually our 200th show in the studio, so it's quite a milestone. I'm glad you're here for that.
I'm honored, man. I'm honored. Yeah.
It's been 2.5 years since we started this. It's been kind of crazy. I didn't know where it was going to go. This is episode 152 of London Real. We have a tech startup show called Silicon Real. Okay. It's all about the tech community around here. Really good vibe, really cool people. So it's show 200, and I think you're our first actor in all of that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's because I haven't reached out.
You don't like
maybe that says something about me. Maybe it's because never reached out to actors, or they never like struck me, or I always thought that maybe certain actors try to keep a little distance from the media or distance from the press. I don't think Daniel Craig has a Twitter account, or sometimes, and I want to ask you about this, maybe they try to keep a distance so they can inhabit roles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, necessarily, I'm the complete opposite to most actors, I think. I don't do anything. I don't do any interviews. I'm not in the media all the time, but when I am, I'm kind of very honest about the things I say. To be honest, I try and keep it as real as possible. No pun intended, but it's just about, I believe that people, this is my opportunity to get myself across. When I'm having an interview and when people are asking me questions about my life. My mum, my wife, a lot of people in the background are like, you talk too much,
Really?
You tell them too much things, and that's too personal, and why say that, why do it? But I believe that it's the best way forward. I think that's what's kept me, that's what's given me the longevity that I've had, so far. I think a lot of people can relate to my story because I tell it the way it really happened, if you know what I mean. And I think other people have the same sort of experiences. So, did
anyone ever pull you aside, like Hollywood directors or anyone, and said, you can't do this, this, and this if you want to be a successful actor?
Of course. I mean, there's if you're talking about kind of things in your social life, in your personal life, obviously. But I'm sure most people would like to to follow those sort of rules in any walk of life that they're in. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, you know, being in the media limelight, being in the hype, being famous or a celebrity or whatever, the spotlight's always on you. You're always judged. You know, so a lot more than others. So you just have to accept that. It comes with the territory. I try my best to be the best person that I can, but sometimes I have outbursts. You know, I have problems. I have issues with things just like everyone else, and it's just the way it goes. I just hope that, you know, the other times where I am being me, I am being sincere, and people see the good side of me. Hopefully, they see the real me. That kind of helps them when to work with me again after they see a bad side. You know what I mean? I don't often get angry, but when I do, it's probably more angry than most people. Do you know what I mean? I have a really bad temper. It's something I've been trying to work on for years. But yeah, you know, so I think a lot of people stick around me because they know, you know, when I'm not angry and I am being sincere and being real and loving and caring and, you know, that myself, that, you know, it kind of cancels out the badness.
That's a good thought. I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
You know, there's one main reason that I kind of asked you to be here, and I was wondering if I could tell you about it.
Yeah, go for it.
I was last year. I was watching season 2 of Top Boy, episode 1. For some reason, I missed season 1. I don't know where my head was. You know, I got no excuses for that, man. Especially being in London. But I was watching episode 1, and you were, I think, in the police station getting interrogated by the police, and I was just watching your performance, and I had to stop after a couple minutes, and I hit pause, and I was just like, you know, this performance they don't teach in acting school. You know, there's some nuance here. There's a lot going on. And I just thought that this wasn't the guy that they grabbed from a casting call and said, can you play, you know, an East End gangster? Because there was so much more going on in that performance. And it was almost like this guy has paid the cost to be the boss. I don't know if that makes sense, to rip off a James Brown line. And, you know, you've done a lot of things. You know, you performed for over 70,000 people when you were at So Solid. You had hit singles. You know, you've done a lot of things, too. You spent some time in jail. You went on Hollywood movies. And I was wondering, do you consciously bring that stuff to the performance, or is there a part of you that you can't necessarily separate it from your performance?
I can't. This is the thing. I have this discussion a lot and I'm very dismissive of like watching my work after, revisiting it, you know, down the line or whatever. Overdoing reading lines or whatever, just stuff that I try my best not to get too. I'm as far from a method actor as, you know, you can get. I think I'm very unprepared. I'm very slack. You know,
but you're very critical of yourself too.
Maybe I am, but I do it as a way to. I just don't want to change anything. That's what I've always done, as far as I'm concerned. When I've been acting, I suppose what's happening is. It is keeping it fresh. It keeps me on my toes. So probably a lot of what you're seeing when you're watching me is me finding it as I'm going along, sort of thing, rather than having rehearsed and locked down something. Do you know what I mean? Which keeps, I think, even with the smallest nuances and, you know, the smallest things, authentic.
Right.
I believe.
Because you can overdo that, right? I mean,
of course,
plus there's so much chaos, I'm guessing, going on. When it all comes down, I'm guessing you probably shot all those scenes in a day or maybe 2.
Yeah, or just over 2 days. Right. Yeah, so you're doing every single interrogation or interview scene in the same day, all different times throughout the script. So you're in different places as a character on your journey. It's difficult. It's like and it's very technical as well. A lot of people don't realize, like, behind the scenes, making sure you hit marks, you do certain things, because once you've done one that the director thinks, I like that one, then it starts to become recycled stuff that you're doing in order for them to be able to cut it together.
Right.
So you're talking about continuity now, and you put your arm up at that point when you said that and whatever, and all these things take away from you trying to just be that person. You realize you're acting sometimes, and that's the worst thing for a good actor, I think, to know that they're acting. You'd love to have that freedom to just do what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I have this thing that I don't want to know what it is that people like about me. I really don't want to find out. I'm not interested in it. I just do the work. I put my head down, I do the work, and, you know, I put my head up after and hope that it's created a little wave. and just continue to do that.
You know, it's funny because you said method acting, and I remember the Brits don't really have a tradition of method acting. It was really an American thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Back in the day, it was like Stanislavski or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember there's a famous line where Laurence Olivier was acting with Dustin Hoffman in that movie Marathon Man.
Okay.
Like shot in the 70s or something. And I think Dustin Hoffman had like run around Central Park like all night long to get tired enough to be this, guy to act in a scene. And I think Laurence like turned to him and he was like, Dustin, you should try acting, and so they were completely against that whole idea of method. Is that something you've never been interested in?
I have been interested in it. I've dabbled in it as well. I didn't necessarily think that it kind of changed my performance, to be honest.
Okay.
I think sometimes it's like, and this is going to be a weird thing for me to say, but I think it's like art. It's like pieces of works of art, like paintings or whatever. Some of it, as I see, is completely shit. It's crap. But you make people think it's good. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Is this The Emperor Has No Clothes?
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. Like, I think if with Danny Day-Lewis, I think he could pull those performances out of the bag if he didn't spend all day in character and, stayed in a wheelchair when he was my left foot and whatever, through lunch and have people feed you and that. I don't think I think he still could have done it without it. I think he's that good. I think, but I think he's always done it. So that's his method.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? That's his thing. So why change something if it's not broken?
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, my first film I did that kind of pushed me, into the limelight was Bullet Boy, and I'd just come out of prison before I shot that movie, and the story was about a boy who just come out of prison.
Right.
Right.
And you just spent 12 months or in prison.
And I've been sentenced to 18 months, and I did serve 7.
Okay. And the writer had written it for you when you were in prison.
He'd written it for me while I was in prison.
But you thought your whole career and life were over, basically.
I thought it was done, yeah.
Well, I guess like any 19, 20-year-old would think.
Yeah, I was thinking, I thought it was over.
I was looking at the dates. When 21 Seconds hit the charts, were you actually in jail at the time?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
I was out. I think you might have the wrong dates for my incarceration. I got arrested in 2001. So I think I got arrested maybe 6 months after 21 Seconds was released or something like that.
Okay.
And I was on bail for 9 months before I actually went down.
Okay.
So I went down in 2002. I came out in 2003 and shot Bullet Boy, I think. I came out late 2002, early 2003, I think I shot Bullet Boy, and it came out in 2004.
Okay. And in Bullet Boy, there's a scene where you're walking out of the prison.
Out of prison, and it's exactly the same prison that I was in.
What's that like?
It's crazy. I mean, that's when, like what I was saying before, when certain method things come into play, but they were forced upon me, sort of thing. Like, the director saw, they did this thing, like, they opened the holding cell and was like, go and have a look. And I was like, right, I remember being in there just before when I come out, being released and whatever. And they sort of slowly shut the door. So I'm locked in there now, but I'm reading graffiti on the walls and trying to find a place where I wrote my name before I left and whatever.
They did this before you shot the scene?
Yeah, and then the door was closed. And now they were all bringing in lighting equipment. Saul's gone, the director's having meetings with people and whatever. People just walking back and forth, but no one's opening the door for me to come back out. So I ended up staying in there for a good, 45 minutes. I mean, I could have caused a fuss and kicked off or whatever, but I realised what was going on.
Okay.
I realised what was being...
on purpose?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I realised what was being pushed on me, and I thought, let me just try and embrace it. And although it did I thought a lot about being in there and my memories from it, which I suppose, in some way could have helped the scene or whatever, but I just feel I could have done it.
Okay.
I could have done it without sitting in there for 45 minutes. Jim Sheridan did the same thing to me, Get Rich or Die Tryin. He's a huge fan of that style of acting, and it was like, had me in a wheelchair for for months, man, like out in Canada, at home, You know, obviously I could have, there was times I did walk, I didn't live my whole life in it, but it was like, take the wheelchair home. On set, he didn't want to see me out of the wheelchair,
Right.
filming or not, telling me stories about Danny Day-Lewis and like, you know, basically what we all need to be living up to.
Okay, subtle hints there.
Yeah,
So, okay.
subtle hints, man. I mean, it went deeper with Jim. He pretty much nearly sacked me to get me to do a scene, right? Like
Really?
one day, yeah, we were doing a scene where I get shot in my back in a nightclub. And I'm on the floor and they all come back to me and they're like, you know, trying to pick me up and I've got to say, all right, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right, in a Jamaican sort of accent. And he's like, cut, you're not saying it right, you're not doing it right. So I'm like, well, all right, well, let's try again. And we did that 3 or 4, 5 times. Kept on saying, cut, no, Ashley, no, you're not doing it right.
And there's like 50 people on set.
Oh
and
man,
lighting,
it's worse than that.
extras.
There's extras.
Everybody's waiting.
Yeah, 50, everyone. So I'm like, oh my God, this is like my second day filming or something. It's my first kind of big American movie or whatever. So I was like, fuck. And then he eventually came over and was like, get up off the ground. I'll show you how to do it. He got down on the ground himself and he's doing all this and I'm starting to get frustrated now and whatever. So I've gone, Jim, like if I'm paralyzed from the waist down, there's no way you're moving that much. Like you're moving too much or whatever. I'm paralyzed or whatever. And he's like, no, I want you to do it like this or whatever. Did it again. He's like, no, cut. Do you know, everyone go to lunch. Ashley, you stay here. He's taking me over to the side of the room and gone, like, I know you're good. Like, I've seen a few things that you've done or whatever. But right now, everything you've shot is going to end up on the cutting room floor because it's just not working for me.
Right, and this is a crucial scene.
This is a crucial scene. And he's like, you have to, you know, basically what was happening is I was a bit daunted by the whole experience, I think. I was like a rabbit in the headlights. At any point, you know, you got Jimmy Iovine standing there talking to 50, and then they're talking about Eminem's coming in, and Lloyd Banks this, and this person and that. And I'm just like, I'm a kid from Peckham. Like,
And it's your second day on the set.
it's my second day on the shoot, and it's just amazing to me. So I think I was in awe too much.
Okay.
And
Was he right in retrospect, the director?
He was right in retrospect, but I think he did something. He basically said he's going to send me home if this is not working out.
Okay.
And sent me to lunch.
Okay.
So I had an hour's lunch
Okay.
to ponder what this guy had just said to me,
Yeah.
right?
Did you talked about your temper. Did you get angry at all or not?
I got angry. I got angry with him. This is why I got so heated, because after the 7th time he's saying cut, and I'm thinking, I'm saying all right. I don't understand what you want me to do. You know, that sort of frustration, like, come on, you're just being picky now, like. But obviously there's something he weren't seeing, and he's down for this whole method thing, and had noticed that probably that I'm not really, you know, giving it all that. I'm a bit loose with it and slack and whatever. And yeah, so he sent me back to my trailer. We came back after lunch, and in that hour's time I ate lunch. I think I got angry, I cried, I called my mum, I got insecure. I went through all these different emotions.
Like the 5 stages.
Yeah,
right?
like what's gonna happen
Denial,
to me?
all that.
All that crap I was going through. Didn't speak to anyone over lunch, and came back. And it was the first thing we did. He was like, "Do it again now, whatever." I got down, I did it, and I did it.
And you did it.
Yeah.
And it was what he wanted. And was it different than what you were doing, you think?
I didn't think so,
Okay.
but there you go.
Is this what you go back to where you're saying sometimes art is just art because people say it is?
Right? Yeah. Well, sometimes I think there are a lot of people that they have a process themselves.
Right.
I watch it as well, because I was that guy on that day, but I've been on other sets, like Top Boy or whatever, where I'm number one in the call sheet. I'm the top lead actor.
Yeah.
And then it trickles down, and the director will pick on others.
Do you think they do that as a point in order to get everybody else to raise their
Maybe,
game?
yeah.
Maybe.
You know, I know.
Or maybe they're just
maybe they're just insecure themselves, and they'd like to say something to me because they didn't think I did what I was doing right, and it's affecting the other person's performance. But it's easier to go to them. You know what I mean? Like, do this or whatever. I don't know. I think there's a lot of that goes on. So I take everything with a pinch of salt. Really.
I took a part-time film course at Met Film out in Ealing, and like one of the things they teach you as budding directors is you never tell your actors that. You know, you never confront them like that. You never tell them to like act this way, because that's like the hardest thing for anyone to digest.
I think that's when it got between me and Jim. That's when it got political and the tables turned, and I realized you know, this is an attack here. This is no longer someone trying to get the best performance out of me. But that's what I felt at the time. But I think that's what he was genuinely trying to do. I mean, consequently, other actors, American actors that were in it, Tory Kittles,
right,
came up to me one day and was like, "Yeah, he did the same thing to me, man. Over when I was saying ones and fives. He was talking about $1 notes and $5 notes in when they're doing a robbery in the beginning." And he was like, it went back and forth for like an hour. He was saying like, "Cut, no, say ones and fives. I am saying ones and fives, this and that." So it kind of eased me a bit, and I thought maybe this is a bit of Jim's process rather than like anything to do with me. Because as an actor, you're very insecure.
Right.
You're always waiting for people to tell you it's good or it's bad, but you need to hear something. The moment you don't hear anything or you don't feel anything, you get quite scared.
Right, because you're ultimately performing for the director.
Yeah,
and if he either likes it or not, like you're just waiting for him for feedback.
Yeah, yeah. We're like little puppies sometimes, you know, just wanting someone to pick us up. Like it's a weird one. You do get into that whole, your ego needs to be stroked slightly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what a good director does.
I think so. I think that's what they would do. I think the best directors, I think, have people skills. You know, and there's a lot of directors that come strictly or predominantly from, you know, an editing background, which is a beautiful thing, I think, because you always, you know, 95% of the time you're always going to have what you need when you're cutting. But I think they lack a bit of the how to deal with actors.
Would you rather work with a former actor being a director?
I think I definitely would. I think the best directors I've worked with have come from that background, or just are really good with people, are really nice people.
Okay.
You need to feel comfortable. If you're, you know, that sort of boss is not the sort of boss that would be CEO or head of Apple or whatever. I think those sort of people, Richard Branson, whatever, they got to be ruthless. Donald Trump, whatever, they had to be ruthless to get to where they were. But I think as a director, as someone that's kind of taking the ship through, so to speak, everyone needs to like you.
Right. What was that experience like as a whole, just being with 50, your first American movie? Like, what did you take away from that? Like, I don't want to do that again. How was the vibe? I mean, 50 was riding a crazy wave. Right?
It was just crazy. It was just like, you could sense the fact that, you know, this was a huge thing. I mean, when it comes to budgets, I don't know if it was 70 or 80 million. I don't think that's really huge when it comes to, these days anyway, when it comes to like American blockbuster movies. But it was huge for me.
Still big,
kind of,
right?
Yeah.
Because there were no special effects and no big stunts and no. What was the location?
It's set where
set in New York, but
New York. But we filmed in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was just a beautiful experience. I think the main thing I got from it, obviously I enjoyed making the movie. I enjoyed the outside bits of it. They put us up in some apartment block on Yorkville in Toronto, which is like the Knightsbridge of Toronto, and it's just like, you know, it's the apartments were amazing, man. They gave me this apartment. There's J-Lo and Ben Affleck staying in the floor above, and, you know, loads of different actors and stuff like that, and they were throwing money at me every week, and I had my own car, and like I was there for like 3 or 4 months, so it became home to me. Do you know what I mean? So I was enjoying it, enjoying the kind of the limelight that surrounded it, and people knew that we were there eventually, and what I was filming and whatever, and the girls and this and that. It was like, it was crazy, man. You know, I went out a few times with 50. I was just enjoying it.
Okay, so he was cool. You could hang out.
He was cool. Yeah, we could hang out, man. We hung out. He was a really nice guy. I think at times I got kind of overwhelmed by, I suppose, his wealth and fame, because, you know, like he'd have cars delivered to set on a regular basis, like buying new cars, you know, new Chevy this and new Impala and that and whatever. You know, it was overwhelming, and I think one day I thought to myself, I'm going to buy myself a watch. I'd always wanted a Jacobs watch. I've been watching all these rappers wearing them in videos.
That's what they were wearing back then, right?
Yeah. So it was like, right, I'm going to get myself one. So I kind of went down to Jacobs, what I thought was Jacobs, and then it's not Jacobs. It's like a pre-store where they call up Jacobs and say, we've got someone that wants to buy. They check out if you're serious or not.
Okay.
And then you get a cab comes for you and takes you down to the actual store. So I went there, I eventually got there, and I bought a watch for like $8,000 or something like that. It was like, what, $14,000?
$1,000. Yeah. Okay. So one of the low end models.
Yeah, one of the very low end models.
Right.
But for me, it was, I was over the moon. I put that on straight away. I was like, yeah. Got back to set. And I had my watch on, and 50 walked past me and see it. I done a double take. Come back, he's like, man, what's that? I was like, yeah, I bought it from Jacobs. He's like, do you like it? He's like, man, that's shit, man. And he was like, you know what? One of the production assistants came to see if we were ready to go on set, and he was like, no, we're not ready. I'm taking Ash back to Jacob. We're going to change that watch.
What, he not enough ice? What didn't
I don't know. There weren't. I mean, it was a really basic one. I think it had just the one with the stones going around the rim of the watch, but none inside. It wasn't flooded. And he was like, no, we're going back. So he's kind of put me in his car with his security. We jumped in the back. They put on the presidential lights on the car. Woo woo! We're driving through traffic, cutting through. This is like a movie to me.
Is that legal?
I don't know, man. And I was just thinking, this is crazy. I'm sitting in the back of the car with 50 Cent, and we got outside the store. He took a iced out diamond chain out the back of the car, at the back of the passenger seat, and an iced out watch and a ring. And I was just looking at him, and he was like, yeah, it's my rapper kit.
Right.
So he's like, when we go in there, just follow my lead. So we've gone in, and he's just kicked off on this guy. How dare you give my little cousin from London this watch? I sent him in there to buy a watch for his birthday, and you give him this crap, this and that or whatever. And they were like, well, we didn't know. He never said he was your cousin. And then 50s looked at me and go, why didn't you say he was my cousin? And I've got, I don't know. Oh man, it was crazy. And then he was like, Ash, pick whatever watch you want. I'd obviously seen loads in there that I would love to have that were like 60 grand, 70 grand, whatever, but obviously I could only afford that one. So I went over to one of the ones that I'd been looking at. It was like 62,000 or something like that. And he was like, yeah, he bought it for me.
Really?
Yeah, he just bought me the watch. I was like, wow. You know?
Do you still have it?
I don't know. I sold it. I sold it. Times got hard. That was the first thing to go. And as well, it was like, over here, it's hard to walk around with stuff on your wrist like that, man.
Because you will get.
Oh yeah.
You'll get jacked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? And that's not the case in the States, or less.
I think it is
or?
a case in the States, but I think in the States, I don't make enough money to have security following me everywhere.
Nor do you want it, right?
Or nor do I want it, exactly.
Yeah,
but
right.
So all that stuff is just like, I'm a free man. Like, I walk around. I take the tube. I take the bus.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live a normal, as much as I can. Obviously,
Right.
people stop you and say stuff, and it's annoying sometimes. But I got kids. I go to the park with my kids, fun fair, whatever. I don't ever want to make them have to feel like they need to be protected all the time, and uncomfortable in their own skin and in the world. So I've just always kept it that way. And obviously, there may come a time where it has to be done, or you're in certain situations. Some gigs I go to, I'll have security, but only for the night, not 24 hours, 7 days a week. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
so you'll just go out, no matter. You'll never let that stop you from going on the tube or going out
Oh,
walking.
hell no.
Do you go incognito or anything, or some glasses on? No, you just go.
I mean, sometimes people think that I'm doing it that way.
Okay.
But I've just put my hat and my sunglasses on.
Right. Okay.
That's what I felt like doing. But yeah, I'm happy to do it. I've got footage. Sometimes I go on the tube and I'll purposely stand up, even when there's seats, by the, they got a glass window where the trains connect the carriages.
Yeah.
And I'll stand there, put my iPhone on and flip it so it's looking at me. But I can also then see the people behind me.
Right.
And I'll film it sometimes. And they're like, what they're doing.
Sneaking pictures?
Yeah, and doing all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And you just think, It's funny. It's funny, man.
That's good to know. You go out and walk on the streets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, do you ever stay in touch with any of the hip hop guys from that movie, Lloyd Banks or 50? I mean, that's a long time ago. That's 9 years ago.
Yeah, it's
right?
9 years ago now. And I did for the first year, I must admit, or the first 2 years actually, because I did another film with 50 after that. He flew over to shoot an English production called Dead Man Running.
Okay, yeah, I remember hearing about it.
Me, him, Danny Dyer, Tama Hassan, a few other people, just a few English faces. Rio Ferdinand and Ashley Cole funded the film. They put the money together for it, and they flew him out. So he was doing something with Mickey Rourke at the time, I think.
Yeah, that was when Mickey was kind of making a comeback.
Yeah,
then.
so he was flying back and forth. So yeah, I mean, from Get Rich or Die Tryin to that, when we shot that film, we did kind of stay in touch. And when he was over, he'd give me a call every now and again. I was ringing him about having some meetings about music and kind of helping me with music. We've actually got 2 tracks together.
Really?
That no one's ever heard. And I've never been able to get him to sign them off.
From years and years and years ago.
Yeah. So I've never been able to get him to sign off on them so I could put them out, and he probably never would now. But they missed. I had an album coming out, and it was like,
and you just couldn't get in touch with him.
Yeah. So at that point it became hard, and it was this whole thing about Chris Lighty as well, man.
I don't know.
Rest in peace. He was like the head of a management company called Violator, who took care of 50, American management company. And he passed away a few years back. But he was, God rest his soul, but when he was alive, he was a very difficult man. He wouldn't let a lot of people get in contact with 50. So you'd be like, we spent like 7 months together in New York and Toronto and this and that, and you'd be like, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? So
I could see him being harder to get a hold of than like the president.
Yeah.
If he's got the people around him that just don't get the calls back and stuff like that. So let's talk music a bit.
Cool.
I was wondering if you could take me back to 1998, Supreme FM, Brixton, Patrick G.
Wow.
Yeah. How did that all start?
For me, I mean, for us, it was like, it was a way of listening. I think like the whole pirate radio scene was just a way of listening to music that, was organic, that we'd all created ourselves, and that the radio just wouldn't play at that point. I think that now there's less of a demand for pirate radio because commercial radio are having to play more of the underground stuff that we want them to play. But the irony is that as soon as it's played on their stations, it becomes commercial and it's no longer what we want to hear anymore. So there's still a demand for it. But then... What was
going on at Supreme FM? What were they doing?
It was just... What do you mean?
I mean, like, how did you start, like, going there? How did you start even with music? And what were you doing?
Me and my cousin used to sit down most Fridays and just go through. My cousin introduced me to House and Garage, what it was then, and he was very new to it himself. But he stumbled across it and was like, "Have you heard this music?" And we used to listen to it together. Most Fridays, we used to sit down and go through all the different dials for pirate radio stations to listen to House and Garage, and write lyrics to it sometimes because we heard other MCs, so we'd write a lot of party lyrics and whatever then. And I was already heavily into hip hop and the American scene by then, Biggie, Jay-Z, whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I was already like Camp Low. I was already into hip hop heavily, so I knew about writing, but I was just writing sort of hip hop lyrics over House and Garage. Really.
Was it a tendency to write and perform like Americans a bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what it was all about. I mean, initially, I started off with an American accent when I was writing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Most people do, I think.
Mike Skinner from the Streets, he's got a really good book where he talks about the whole streets movement and stuff. And he said, back then, a lot of people were doing that, right? Whether they knew it or not.
Yeah, some people didn't actually realize. Like, even now, R&B, it's only in the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say, that we've started to get our own voice as singers over here, R&B singers or singers in general. Like, for instance, you got Adele, people like, they don't sing with an American accent. Right. Lily Allen, people like that push the game forward because they came out some of them very Cockney, do you know what I mean? And would be like so London, it's unbelievable. So we're getting a surge of that now, but mostly R&B singers from the UK, Tayo Cruz, who else? Angel, like a lot of artists.
You can take it back to Rolling Stones and stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know they're British.
Right, exactly, exactly. So it was a common thing. But, I started off like that, but obviously developed because it was a very UK sound. So it didn't really work with the American accent. It weren't
Right.
the same. So we had to do. We developed. You develop your flow. The pace of it was different. The
Much
BPM,
faster.
The BPM, yeah,
Because it was like 140, like 21 seconds, 140.
Yeah.
American hip hop was like 100, 110.
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot different when it comes to pace.
Right.
So yeah, we just developed, but it went from there. So I started doing that, and then I stumbled across Soul Solid on the radio. So initially, I was a fan
Okay.
of Soul Solid. I started listening to them every Friday, 8 till 10 or something they did.
And
on
they were
Supreme.
performing live in the station over beats, or they had recorded stuff and
No,
would
no,
play
they were
it?
performing live in the station
That's
over
crazy.
beats. So they have a
Okay.
DJ just cutting beats together, and they just go back and forth, 3 microphones, you know, Romeo, Mega, and someone else or whatever.
Freestyling or stuff they'd written?
Freestyling, stuff they'd written,
Wow.
stuff that was familiar with people, you know, they perform in clubs or whatever. So for me, they just became, like, that was it. I thought, wow, we've got our own thing now. Like, this is our own rap. This is our own hip-hop scene. Because before that, we didn't have anything that represented us. The drug dealers, the guys on the estates, the murderers, whatever you want to call them, yeah?
Right.
We had no one, we weren't represented out there in music. It was boy bands, you know, Seal. There's all sorts of crap that like you look back on and you just think, really? Did I listen to that crap? Do you know what I mean?
But you did,
But
right?
I did.
Okay.
So, yes, I mean, I'd listened to Soul Solid, and then once they did a live call-in competition.
Okay.
So you could call in live into the studio and rap down the phone.
Okay.
And whoever won would get a chance to come in the studio and perform in the studio live.
Okay.
So I called up and I won.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And
I-
everybody wanted to be part of this crew.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone.
Right.
So, long story short, I met Patrick G. I very quickly realized that he was very, very, he had a very, very big issue with drugs.
Okay. This is the DJ. He owns Supreme FM.
He owned Supreme.
Right, okay.
You know, at the time, my name was Asher.
right.
And I kind of went down there. I gave him a tape. I made myself of me spitting or rapping over beats. And he went into a bedroom, came back out, and was like, yeah, all right, cool. You got a set this time to this time on Monday or whatever. This will be your DJ. Put me with a DJ. And so obviously I was over the moon. I got my own set and whatever. But obviously I was like, you know, I think Soul Solid would come on like 3 hours after me. I'd wait after I'd finished my set in the studio in this flat in Brixton and just wait for them to turn up and sit in the corner and listen to them all night while they did their set, just
Okay.
in awe.
Would you introduce yourself? Or just stay
Yeah,
out?
yeah, they knew who I was. They
Okay.
knew who I was. I was, at that point, I was the actor boy. Because I
Okay.
was already in Grange Hill
Oh, yeah,
on
yeah.
TV doing things or whatever. So everyone kind of knew my face already.
And you've been on stage since you were 6. People don't know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
about
yeah,
you.
I did-
So
I
you were
start-
actor first.
Yeah, I started off like in West End Theatre.
Right, okay. Like when you were really young.
Really, really young. I think my first stage performance, I was, between the ages of 7 and 9, I think, or something like that.
Wow.
And that was Prince Edward Theatre as Children of Eden. And then I went on to like Palladium, I did Oliver, Jonathan Price, Sam Mendes directed that.
Okay.
And then I went on to, what did I do? Carmen Jones at the Old Vic. I did that for a while, man. A lot of stage stuff.
So they knew you as the actor,
They knew me as the actor.
which is
yeah.
good. Better than nothing, I
Well, it
guess.
was better than nothing, yeah, definitely. I mean, at least they knew me. They knew me enough. They were interested in me enough to let me stay in the room, because a lot of other people wouldn't get to stay in the room or whatever. That was Soul Solid time. There's only Soul Solid members, but I kind of got a little, you know, they brought me in.
Okay. And hundreds of people wanted to come down there. And
Oh,
perform.
yeah. This is the most sought after thing. I mean, when this was happening, it was just like, it was unbelievable. It overwhelmed everyone, the government, the police, everyone, obviously, as you know, like how the story turned out. So it was like the most amazing experience for
How
us
did
all.
the story turn out?
Well, pretty much, you know, we became, at the time we rose to fame, or shot to fame, I'd say, gun crime did as well in the UK. I mean, I remember it being like, you heard stories about Brooklyn and, you know, New York and, you know, the West Coast and whatever, and how it went down over there.
Right.
But we didn't really have it like that here.
There wasn't that many guns
Oh,
here.
no, there wasn't that many guns or
Right,
whatever. And all of a sudden, London just became a war zone. London, Birmingham, like all the major cities just became a war zone.
Because of the music?
That's what the government and the police reckon. I would like to say.
What do you say?
I'd say hell no. I mean,
Okay, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no.
But then again,
no.
it's a crazy world.
I mean, yeah, there will be a few people that will be influenced by a computer game or music or a book or what someone else told them to do or say or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's life. I don't personally think. I think if they, if I say in a song, kill people, whatever, and then the kid goes and kills people, I think that they were wrong in the first place. I think there's something wrong with them in the beginning for them to, for that to give them the impetus to go and shoot someone. But, like we were saying before in the beginning, when you're in the limelight or whatever, you are in the spotlight, you're expected to act a certain way. You're expected, if kids listen to your music especially, you're expected to be a role model. So we were an easy target because obviously we were going through our own things in our life. The stuff that we were talking about wasn't just about, making things up or imagination. We were literally talking about naming names, talking about people we knew, how they died, how we got shot, who we shot at. Right? Do you know what I mean? We were talking about our everyday lives. Me personally, my life wasn't that bad, so I wouldn't be talking about all that stuff. But a lot of members of my crew, that's the life they were living. They weren't destined to be actors or rappers or whatever. This opportunity came and they just grabbed onto it. But before then, they were hustlers. They were doing their thing, and so it was like, I think it was just a perfect opportunity for a government that was in despair and didn't understand, or did understand and didn't want to admit that they understood. It was about how are they going to control this thing, and furthermore, whose fault is it? Who do we blame? And it just so happened that a few people got shot at one of our gigs.
Right.
Just all these things happened that combined together just said, you got something to do with this. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And we can't take the blame for this, and we're not going to. So it's you. Parents, don't let your kids listen to this stuff. They're brainwashing your children, whatever. When we all know, we're impoverished people. The inner city areas need more money. The communities need more support, whatever, which is the reasons why they turn to things like drugs and guns. And we all know that they're readily available in these areas because they're letting them be. Do you know what I mean? It's
right.
like, so it's all goes hand in hand. I don't want to get deep into the whole thing, but I've never understood why we can go into places like Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever, shoot at the place, kill bin Laden, do this, do that, or whatever, but we can't stop gun crime in Peckham or Birmingham or whatever. That just boggles me, that whole thing. It's just so difficult to grasp over here, but we just became a scapegoat.
And you guys kind of came synonymous with gun crime, with violence in London.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You probably benefited and were hurt from that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a gift and a curse, definitely. And we didn't help ourselves. I mean, after that point, I went to prison. I got caught with a gun.
Right.
So, and then 5 other members got caught with a gun, and then one went for attempted murder, and one's doing life for murder now. Right. So, obviously, we didn't help ourselves. But I think the moral of the story is, we were those kids that were getting caught up in what I was talking about, that we were those kids that came from that impoverished environment. And we were, even though we had an opportunity to do much better, we didn't take it, we didn't capitalize on it because we didn't know how. Do you know what I mean? We didn't have the right help around us. Anyone that was around us that probably could have pulled us through was just interested in making money for it and capitalizing in the moment.
Right. Do you think you would have been carrying a gun if you hadn't been part of So Solid? Did the art start intersecting with your life? Or
of course. I was just, for me, I grew up as an only child. I had brothers and whatever, but I never lived with them and that. I got bullied, mugged, all sorts of stuff when I was young. I always wanted to be part of a gang. My dad weren't around for me. He was in prison most of my life. So when I got to be a part of So Solid, it wasn't necessarily about music. It was about having a family. It was about having a group of like-minded people that I felt so protected in that crew. No one could touch me. I was now a member of a gang. Finally I was, do you know what I mean? It was an acceptance for me. So I felt very strong, but I didn't necessarily have the same upbringing as the rest of the guys. I think my mum was very dedicated to my education, and I got to experience a lot of different things than they did, hence why I was already acting from when I was a young kid. So yeah, I mean, it was like I watched all these people's stories and watched what they went through and whatever, and eventually became embroiled in it myself. Do you know what I mean? It's so hard not to. And I felt the fear, and there was a huge surge in the amount of people that wanted to hurt me because of the success that I had. And at that point, I was still living on a council estate in Brixton. You know, I was getting shot at on a weekly basis.
Really? Because you weren't so solid?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it's guilty by association. I mean, a lot of the other members had shot other people before and done other things to this guy from that territory and whatever. So I get caught slipping by myself, you know what I mean, by someone who's wants my friend or something. It's like, it's lights out, isn't it, as far as they're concerned. So a lot of those things happened to me, man. I was put in a lot of difficult situations. And if I'm honest, I feared for my life. So I just thought, I'm getting a gun. But obviously, being with So Solid and whatever, entwined all of those little different parts, helped me to make that decision. It's what I knew. I'd seen guns before. I understood that you didn't go to the police and say, I'm being threatened as a young black man, you know what I mean, in those areas. You dealt with your problem yourself, or you and your friends did. That's what it was as simple as that. So that's the first thing I did. Like, in hindsight, I can look back and say, I know it's stupid. It was the most stupid thing for me to do. More importantly, I think if I hadn't got caught with the gun,
Yeah, what would have happened?
I'd be dead now.
Really?
Or I'd be in jail myself, probably.
Because you were probably going to continue to get more out of control.
Oh, yeah. I was. But when I got caught, I was out of control.
Okay.
I was going everywhere with my gun at that point.
Okay. And violence was escalating.
And violence was escalating. My paranoia had gone through the roof. So I was just so scared. You know, someone might have come up to me and gone, hello, and I might have shot him. Do you know what I mean? That's how I felt at the time. Not sleeping, manning my door like I'm in the army, glass of brandy in front of the door with a chair, you know, my girlfriend telling me come to sleep and whatever. But I was like, no, we had death threats last night and someone threw paint on my car and this, you know, just thinking it's going to happen. So
this is the glamorous life of a musician.
It won't,
right?
Yeah, if you want to call it that. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I don't regret those days. You know I was scared through them and I got through them, but I don't want to go back.
But in retrospect, you wouldn't change anything about that? Or you wouldn't have been like, I shouldn't have been carrying that, or I wish I hadn't got stopped, or that 18 months was way out of line? Do you think any of those things?
Yeah, I wouldn't be as cheeky as to say I wish I didn't get stopped. Even though sometimes I did think that, like, why did I get caught? But yeah, no, I mean, I would encourage everyone else not to make that same decision. But I can honestly say I'd probably do the same thing again. When it comes to protecting my family, I really felt that I needed to protect my family. I had a son by then and my girlfriend and whatever, and I just felt under threat. And I think most people in that situation, most men would feel that way as well, that they want to protect themselves. I knew that for a fact that the authorities wouldn't do anything for me unless they're going to stand outside my door for 24 hours a day or whatever. What can they do? Right. And they're probably going to look at me like I'm an idiot anyway. You're this guy on So Solid, really and truly, you're just a big pussy because you're calling us to come and, do you know what I mean? And then go and tell other gang members, that's what I did and I snitched and this, and it just becomes another thing. So I just thought, handle it myself.
Have things changed now? Are things safer 10 years, 15 years later?
Do you know what the worst thing about it is? I think this is another reason why I think people should not make that same decision, is that it isn't any different for me now than it was then, to be honest. There's the same amount of level of alert. There's the same level of awareness about where I am, who I go with, who I'm with, where I go, whatever. But I have a sort of a preparation. I have prepared myself for what may be. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't think I'm scared anymore.
Okay.
You know, I don't know whether that comes with maturity or whatever, but I'm just not willing to be. I was a recluse then. I became a recluse. I drank myself to stupidity. I did all sorts of things because out of fear, depression, not wanting to go out, this and that or whatever because of the stuff that was going on. And I lost myself as a person. If I get shot next week, I've lived a good life. I want to know that I've been, you know, I've been out there. I've taken my opportunities. I've enjoyed everything. I've gone on holidays with my wife. I've been clubbing. I've experienced things. I'm not going to let other people's jealousy, hatred, or whatever you want to call it, insecurities even, affect my lifestyle.
When did you deal with that? Was it in jail, or was it many years later that you were able to make that transition?
Many years later, probably. I think I'm still making the transition now.
Is it just growing up?
Yeah, I think so. Getting married was a huge milestone for me, because that was another thing that I never, ever, ever, ever in my life thought I was going to do. People don't get married where I come from. Like, you know, my mum got married 10 years ago, and that was an eye-opener for me. It's just like, really? So yeah, getting married to my wife was kind of, I don't know, I think it's definitely pushed me to up my game a bit more when it comes to just to being a human and living. Do you know what I mean?
Because you're finally accepting that it's not just about you, that there's someone else just as important.
Exactly. I mean, there's someone else, there's other people that are just as important.
But it wasn't having children that made you make that realization. It was actually getting married.
It was getting married. It made me being ready for marriage, maybe.
Right. And you make a conscious choice to be married.
Yeah. I mean, it was my idea. You know, I just felt I met the girl of my dreams. Yeah, I know. Soppy. And I just felt, you know, she's the one. Yeah, soppy, cliched, like. But I genuinely got those feelings I never had before.
You thought you were never going to be the guy to get married. I'm going to be solo the whole time. A lot of guys feel that way in their 20s, right?
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily solo.
Okay.
Just like, what do you need a marriage for?
Right. Okay.
Sort of thing. Who needs it? What's it about?
It's a contract with the government, with the church. It doesn't mean anything.
Like, you know, we could get a few tax breaks, maybe, or whatever, but like, what is it all about?
And so what changed your mind? What made you embrace it?
She did.
Okay.
She did.
All right. And you were like, this is going to happen. This is the one.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then that made you start accepting yourself a bit more.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I've implied throughout. I'm an insecure person, man. I make a lot of decisions. You know, I'm quite definite in the decisions I make, but at the same time, I do. You know, I analyze things a lot. I think about things too much. I do think, have I made the right decision a lot or whatever, rather than just doing something and letting it go and whatever. And I also I've always thought, am I good enough for anyone?
Right.
You know, can I be that person can I be faithful? Can I be loyal? Can I be all those things that like a husband is meant to be? Judging by my own track record, you know, you look at your CV and you think, on paper, technically, this is not. I'm not meant to be getting married.
Was the So Solid fame? Was it too fast in retrospect?
Way too fast.
Can anyone handle that when they're that young?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe there is a person that can. Like, it doesn't look like Justin Bieber can.
No,
you know, doesn't. Michael Jackson didn't.
When you see someone like Justin Bieber kind of going off the deep end in slow motion, do you think like, I feel for your kid, or he's doing everything he can do? What do you think?
I feel for him.
You do,
because that's the worst time of your life to lead.
Right.
To live that time of your life, that age,
where everyone wants to give you everything, everybody wants to be your friend.
Oh my God!
All the girls want you. All the guys want to hang out with you.
What are you gonna do?
Go crazy.
You got to be really, really, really over focused or just dead inside to get through that. You have to be, man. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. So, but obviously, like we've been saying, he's Justin Bieber. He has a lot of girls' hearts in his hand around the world, young girls. You got to be a better example as far as anyone else is concerned. Like, you know, you want to sell to these kids, you got to be squeaky clean. And if you are not, don't get caught.
Yeah, he probably doesn't even care anymore. So
I don't think so. I mean, I think he's at the stage now where he's trying to make that transition into being an adult artist, more R&B sounding sort of stuff and whatever. And he's got so much money. I think he's done enough probably.
Yeah,
by now.
To be continued on that one.
Yeah.
What was jail?
For real.
What was jail like?
Good and terrible at the same time, man. Hard time for me. I felt like I didn't belong there, even though I always felt I was going.
Really?
To prison. Yeah, I think it's what do they call it, a rites of passage.
Okay.
for a lot of young inner city children.
Okay.
You see most of your friends, most of your olders, as they will call it, going to prison, coming back, getting love from everyone else because of it, moving up in the ranks because of it, I suppose, in the social ranks, you know what I mean?
Is that wrong or is that right? Or
It's very wrong, I
right.
think.
But it's very real, isn't it?
But it's very real, yeah. I mean, you compare that story to a kid that was, for example, born in Knightsbridge or Chelsea or Kensington. It's not, they're going to be thinking about going to uni, probably, or taking over daddy's business or, you know, doing something like that. Whereas we're kind of aiming towards prison, then all these other crap things. So.
I think it's like even a subconscious thing where you're like, part of you is drawing yourself toward it.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you tempt fate daily, man.
So you're in there and you're thinking, I shouldn't be here, but part of you is thinking,
it was bound to happen.
Bound to happen.
Yeah.
Is it completely wasted time? Are you thinking to yourself, I'll never get these days back, or is it not like that?
I'll never waste time.
Okay.
Ever.
What were you doing?
I read. I trained. Not that you could tell now, but I trained.
Lifting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I went in there and I came out a beast, and I was so proud of it, that achievement. I took my maths GCSE again. I failed maths GCSE, and I think I got a C when I was in there, so I didn't do that much better, but it was a pass.
Okay.
I did an MBQ in food hygiene, of all things.
Okay.
But my job was, I was a working prison, so I worked in the kitchens in the jail, so I cooked meals for the other inmates, basically. And that's what I spent my time doing. And then I put on a performance in there as well. I put on a concert. Managed to get the governors to let me get a group of inmates together that wanted to perform and was doing music and rapping and whatever, and we would rehearse like twice a week, like 4 weeks in the run up to this thing, and then they gave me the gym and like the whole, all different wings came out and just watched or whatever, and I did that. I did that in an environment where I knew most people didn't like me as well.
Okay. Was it dangerous in there?
I never had any actual danger. I came close to it. So I nearly got stabbed once. Some guy made a knife for me. We had an argument over pool, playing the pool on the pool table. And next day, you know, he'd gone in his cell in the night and made a knife. He's saying to his cellmate that he's going to stab me in the morning. Luckily enough, the cellmate told the governors, the prison staff, and they raided his cell. And found it or whatever, and he got taken off the wing. And I had another sticky situation where, you know, I was about to get beaten up in the showers. A guard had left me there on purpose in the wrong place because they knew that people were trying to get hold of me through their intelligence, reading letters and listening to phone calls and that. So obviously one of these prison staff was working with another inmate and kind of left me in there. About 5 of them came in to beat me up, but a warden from my wing found out about it and came and saved me. So it was close. There was a few times where I thought, you know, this is quite sticky. But it was all about, I enjoyed changing the perceptions, people's perceptions of me in there. I think a lot of people thought I was a gangster and, you know, what they seen on TV and in the press and that. So they were actually, you know, real hardcore gangsters, and they're thinking, does this guy think he is, like, whatever. So they would test you a bit, don't they? And when I was like, well, I'm cool, man. I'm no threat to you, bro. Like I was just making music. I know this. I know that was a bit silly, me saying that in that lyric and this and that and whatever. And then they're like, oh.
Okay, that was okay.
You're nothing, man. You're cool. You know what I mean? So.
But then at the whole time you're thinking your music career is over, your acting career is over.
Yeah, I mean, that was sad. The hardest thing was not seeing my kids, to be honest, and family. That was the hardest thing for me. I left at a difficult time. I just signed a solo deal with Sony before I went to jail. So that was the hardest thing, man. And, you know, while I was in prison, I was just thinking, I've lost that opportunity. I dreamt of having that solo deal. The album with the crew and everything was wicked, but everyone else had slowly been getting solo deals. Right. And in my mind, I was like, mine's coming. And I got the biggest deal out of everyone. Yeah. You know, it was the most anticipated thing. And it just killed it for me. You know, that killed the whole album. the notoriety does not work in the UK.
No.
It's not what it's about. So it flopped, you know, it was a huge flop, and I just thought my career's over. I came out, I lost my house. So I came out, I lost my house, lost my car. You know, like everything, it just seemed I had no money in the bank. It was just like I'd been raped and pillaged, and you know, like people were taking money from me, management. I was going through court cases and whatever. It was just desperate times.
Were you angry, or were you humbled by the whole thing?
I do what I usually do. Go into myself, don't go out, you know, don't talk to anyone, whatever, stop answering my phone. Just depression, man. Just like
is that depression? Is that what it is?
I don't
Sounds
know,
like what I used to do. So.
It's my way of because I really do believe that if I don't, I'll kill someone. I'll do something stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get like my temper is that bad. I don't seem to have a middle gear. It's either very slow or very fast, but there's no in between.
It's still now.
Yeah, at times.
Okay.
I go through the numbers, like with my wife, stuff like that. Like I have to have as much patience as I can. It's amazing in life that, you know, there's some people you can just, my mom, like there's a few people around me, my kids or whatever, I can keep my calm. I lose my temper with every now and again, but not to the point that I don't know what I'm doing. But in the outside world, with the outside world, I kind of, you know, I get a red mist and I become someone else. And the scariest thing is I don't fear the consequences.
Okay.
Do you understand? Like I don't care, and that's been my downfall really, because like since going to prison, you know, I have been a squeaky clean guy, but I've had a few moments along the way where I could have went back to prison,
right,
to be honest, because of my temper.
Maybe it's your subconscious kind of knows that, and so it makes you just shut down when you even know that's a possibility.
Yeah. I think the best thing for me to do is walk away, or, you know, stay at home.
Done. Yeah, they call it anger management.
Yeah.
I know John McEnroe, the tennis player, he was big into his anger management. I think there's something there with the anger management, but that's very American. You know, you came out, you did Bullet Boy, and I think you made a conscious decision that you didn't want to be the gangster guy. You didn't want to get typecast as, you know, the dealer and the guy in the, you know, doing the violence and stuff. So you stayed away from that for a while, but then obviously Top Boy, you're kind of jumping back into it. And I was just wondering why you decided to do that. Was it enough time? And then was it the script that made you want to do, you know, that project? And did you know it was going to be big?
Yeah, well, it was. You never know it's going to be big.
You never know, right?
But I had a sneaky suspicion. What it was with Top Boy, the appeal was, let me do it in all night. The appeal was, I got a lot of scripts like that land on my desk.
Television and movies?
Television and movies, yeah. And after Bullet Boy and a few other things, I made a conscious decision with my agent. I was like, no, we've got to stop doing this, because this is all I'm going to be doing. So
are you getting bored with it as well?
Yeah, it was getting quite boring. I wanted to act, man. I wanted them to throw roles at me. I wanted them to say, be gay in this. Maybe I might have said no, but I wanted to be offered that stuff. I wanted to get what everyone else was.
Like the West End, you want to be able to be everything. Okay.
Exactly. I hadn't started doing that, playing that sort of role all the time. I'd played loads of different roles on stage and whatever. I'd done different acting, so I wanted to continue. So yeah, we made a conscious decision not to do it, and we kind of started going after other things. But Top Boy came in, and when I read it, I just thought, wow, like I've not seen it done like this. Obviously at that time as well, I'd just been watching The Wire.
Okay, right.
Right, so people just put me on to it.
It had been out for a while, but you probably started watching it.
Yeah, I was late.
Yeah,
I hate to do the rush thing. Like, you know, when everyone else is The Wire, I kind of go, whatever.
Right.
Like, I know everyone's chatting crap, you know, everyone's talking about it. Like 50 Shades of Grey, it's just like,
stay away.
I'm not reading it then if everyone else is reading it. But then one night, this is actually when I'm, but way before that, when I was staying at my mum's, and my stepdad had a box set, so I just threw it on. Didn't leave for like 3 days. Dangerous. Yeah, dangerous. I just sat there for like 3 days, like thinking, why we got something like this? And then Top Boy came, and I was like, this is what God's just answered my prayers.
Why did you like The Wire?
I liked it because it was raw. I liked it because it kind of exposed a lot of truths on different sides of the fence, you know, so to speak, you know, like what's happening on the streets, how the police are dealing with it, how they're dealing with it, the social workers, these person, that person, the crackheads, the you know what I mean?
The schools,
it's how it affects a community. And it was real. And you had some really raw moments in there as well, where you just think, wow, is that shit on TV?
Right.
Sort of thing.
And it was almost non-conclusive. Like the episode would end and you'd be like, you didn't give me a nice packaged ending. Like you just let me sit there and think about that for a while.
Yeah, it lets you, just let it simmer. Do you know what I mean? Until you, and I think it's your own perception, but also as well, it's just about the whole, what I liked was that they were organised, this was organised crime. I think black people get, not that crime is a good thing to be doing for anyone, right? Any race, wherever you come from. But I think black people get the raw end of the stick when it comes to the fact that people don't believe that they can be organised in their crime. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
I've known for many years about organised crime in the UK, in London. I've maybe got friends and people that are involved in it. So I understand that we're not just, like, we don't just go out and go bang, 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 and shoot people and, you know, deal drugs on the side of the street like idiots and, you know what I mean, do stupid things. Like, this was a black mafia.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was stylish. It was classy.
Did you see American Gangster with Denzel Washington?
Yeah.
Because that was like, oh my gosh, there's black gangsters in the world.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, what a big surprise.
Yeah, it's like, what did you think?
Which seems kind of silly in retrospect.
It does. It just feels like, come on, man. So, what, you didn't think one black man in the world was clued up enough to cut out the middleman and fly to Taiwan or wherever himself and buy drugs, or I don't know, but there's a lot of that that's going on. So I just love the fact that it exposed that sort of, that this was an organization. Like there was a hierarchy, there was certain things that you had to abide by and rules and laws, and we have that over here and on a smaller scale, mind, but we have that over here in the UK, and that's what Top Boy showed to me, you know. And the best thing about it was that your main guy in the show, you know, is the worst character ever, but you love him.
Worst how?
Meaning, I mean, the stuff he's doing, you know, Duchesne, he's a manipulative person. He knows how to manipulate the people around him. I think the best drug dealers do become that person in the end, because their whole life is spent not having to be around something that is generating them so much money, is minimizing the risk from day one. You know, they start off on the street, but the aim is to be nowhere near it, but have other people doing what they're doing. So that was Duchesne's kind of thing, but in order to do that, you have to break eggs. Do you know what I mean? People have to die and have to do this and whatever. And initially in series 1, his whole thing is, we can have a world, we can have a drug game where people don't have to shoot each other all the time.
He's an idealist. Right?
Yeah, like this doesn't have to be this way, bro. You don't have to chop people's hands off. You don't have to do this. But his partner is like, you're dumb. That's the only way. It's all about making people scared of you, bruv. Like, you have to. And they're fighting that balance, but he's so against it. But when the chips are down, he's happy to give the order. Right. Make it happen or whatever.
So you saw that story arc when you read the script and you liked it?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. And I think, I went away. You know, it's one of the things, my only projects that I've actually really watched, and taken in and thought about it, and maybe watched a few times, some of the episodes. And I like the character. Like, I want him to succeed. I know it's weird, and as people, we shouldn't, but I think that's what was another part of the appeal about the whole thing. I think people watched it and it was like, you know, I want this guy to come out of it, or, you know, to succeed in some sort of way, to get himself out. He was, Duchesne's idea is not getting greedy, not doing this forever, getting this money and putting it into something that can eventually make him legitimate and, you know, get himself out of that situation. And I like that whole thing.
Even though it's futile.
Of course,
and that's, I guess it's like a great Shakespearean tragedy, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. It is, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know there's, you know, you're ending up in jail, back at square one with nothing, or you're dead.
Right.
You know, a
Now,
simple.
you're playing a guy 5 years younger than you.
Yeah.
You said that when you started going on the estates, like a lot of the slang that you remember, no one was saying that anymore. I read an article with Time Out magazine. You said that. Well, how hard of it was a transition to get back in that headspace?
Not that difficult, to be honest. I think, obviously, like you lose a certain connection when you're away from somewhere for a long period of time. It's inevitable that you're going to lose some sort of understanding of it or some sort of connection with it. It just meant going back out there, really. I think that's the beauty of Top Boy was about that. Me and Kano were surrounded by people plucked from obscurity, man. Just people that were just dragged off the estate.
The actors,
the other actors. They were just like they'd never acted before.
They don't look like actors. That's the crazy thing about it. No one looks like an actor in that show. They look completely out of place. They look miscast because we're so not used to it, you know?
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, that was the amazing thing. So, I mean, to be honest, in the beginning, I was like, really? Is that going to work? Are you sure about this?
Again, it's back to your art comment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's art because they say it's art, and then you believe it.
Well, maybe.
But it does work.
But I think there's something to be had when you got, you know, just real people that have not been messed up by, you know,
by acting
like
you.
Which is why I do as best as I can to kind of stay away from that whole process and whatever. I just try. I want to be raw. I want it to, as much as I can, make it feel like it's the first film I've ever done. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it, and that gives that raw performance. But yeah, these guys just gave their all. You know, second season, you can see that they're starting to act. Yeah. Now. Yeah. It changes, like, you know, and that's like capturing that moment is the hardest thing in the world. But I think Top Boy season 1 definitely just caught it all. And one thing I don't think a lot of TV shows have ever been able to achieve is the love of the people that we were representing. Right. So I get, you know, those real hustlers and whatever on a regular basis going, yo, that's the best thing ever, bro.
Because it was so real? Is it that simple?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they were like how I watched The Wire and went, really? On TV? Right. They were like, some of them even gone like, you know, you're dry snitching. Like, certain things you're saying in there, like, you're telling the police how we're doing things, bro. You can't be saying that.
Which is apparently what happened with The Wire as well. Apparently people were watching The Wire and doing that in Baltimore and watching the tricks and trying them on each other, you know, the police and the...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they're like, is that close to home? But I've respected that because you got the gangsters loving it. You know, you got... the white middle class public loving it. Right. You got you got everyone like there was something in there for everybody. And that's a good drama at the end of the day.
And the Americans are watching it too, right? I mean, you really get a slice of London you've never seen ever. You know, as a city. Because
apparently, I mean, I've got a friend. Have you heard of Shingy?
No.
From the Noisettes. She's in a band called the Noisettes. Okay. She's just I think she just signed a deal out in the States. She's living out in LA. And she said she saw, I said, I've just come back from LA. I saw a poster of you out there. Wow. A Top Boy poster. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, she saw it on HBO or something like, I don't know, or some a channel out there, so they must be showing it. I think the season 1 got a lot of love through Netflix.
Okay.
I think that was the only way they could get it out there. I don't know whether they've done a deal as yet for like BBC America or something for season 2. I doubt they would with BBC, but
they might have. What did you think when Kano was involved? Obviously, you know, music guy crossing over to acting. You know, like you guys are, you know, the top 2 billings on that card. What did you think at first? It's his first acting gig.
To be honest, I had no fear about that because I've known Kano a while before we shot that. We weren't too pally or anything, but we'd see each other on a regular basis through work and stuff. And he's always struck me as a person that takes care with his art. He's a focused person, so anything he's gonna do, he'll do it to the best of his ability and give it his full time. He's a perfectionist, and he's patient because he's been offered a lot of TV work before Top Boy.
And he passed.
He was waiting for the right thing. He's a very smart, methodical guy when it comes to his career.
Okay.
and not rushing. He wants longevity. He wants to be here for a while. So he might not do another thing on TV now for a while until the right thing comes up.
It takes a lot of patience, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. Especially when you want to feed yourself and you make money and do whatever, you can get caught up in that. But
and be on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he never does that. So he got his own personal. He got an acting coach before we did it, and I thought that was really brave of him, to say I do need some help. And obviously, like I said, he wants to make it the best it can be. So I chose to do it with him. So the production company paid for us both we just had acting classes for a few weeks before. I learned a lot of stuff I didn't really know.
How was that?
Oh yeah,
Good.
It was cool.
Good
At first it was a bit like teaching me how to suck eggs, sort of thing. But then I realized, you can't have that attitude, and I learned stuff. I learned things. I think Kano's he's run off with the method thing. That's his. Because that teacher was very into the method thing, and it was kind of like just feel everything, do everything, be everything, or whatever. And he took that and ran with it.
Okay.
And came on set, and we were doing fight sequences, and he's punching people for real. And they're like, bro, you can't hit me for real. And it's like, nah, bro, shut up, man, take it.
You said you were pleasantly surprised, because I think a lot of people would have expected him to come on and be, Kano, the music personality, but being that guy as an actor. But he really embraced you got to be really vulnerable as an actor, don't you?
Oh, you can, yeah.
You got
to be willing to do anything.
Which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do in a music business to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Look what Jay-Z's going through now, just from not hitting Solange back. I seen him all having a conversation about why didn't he hit her back and this and that and whatever. And it's just like, forget about it, man. Kane, you just got to be willing to go with it, go places. We had we read together. We had to do like a chemistry read. So I'd already been cast director, and the producer brought me in, and then brought in 3 different people. Kano was one of them, to see which one we worked together with me best. And Kano came in, and this guy, he just it was a scene where me and him are having an argument about something, and he's thrown through the script down straight away. So I'm thinking, all right, this guy's off the book. All right, cool. So we started going back and forth with these lines and that, and then he started flipping it up a bit. So I'm trying to chase him now, this is becoming a bit improv-y. Then he's grabbed me, got me up against the wall, like, oh, fuck it, over here. And I'm like, shit. That's...
This is just a reading.
This is just a reading. Okay. But I'm saying... for a musician who's never acted before, whatever, to be that vulnerable, follow their instincts like that, he never knows. I could have turned around and went, no, yo, cut, what are you doing? Right. Yeah, whatever, I don't want to work with someone like this or whatever. He just took a chance and just felt it and went with it. And we all looked at each other like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Wow, that's amazing. There's 4 episodes of season 1. There's 4 episodes of season 2. In America... for Mad Men and Breaking Bad, you get 10, you get 12. And for Britain, it's hard to get the funding for that. And you've talked about it before, as far as it's, the film industry, the television industry over here is just so much smaller.
Yeah.
Is that frustrating for you? Does that need to change? Does it mean we're going to need private financing? Does it mean Netflix is going to have to step in? But, it kills me. You leave 4 episodes of Top Boy and you're like... You're just getting warmed up.
It's not even enough. It doesn't even touch the sides.
No.
And everyone... I think it's going to be inevitable that over here we're going to have to do something about that. I think it's mainly down to the writing now. I don't think that we believe in ourselves as writers that we've got enough in us to make something.
You think so? Yeah.
That's what I think. I think that's mainly down. I think people struggle over 4 episodes of something, or 6. I think people struggle to find right ideas.
You mean as writers in Britain?
As writers in Britain. And that's no disrespect to British writers, because I think they're amazing. A lot of them are amazing. But it's just, I think it's just traditionally, or the way, the industry looks at it, is they think it has to be NCIS in order for it to be ongoing. After, 4, 5... stylish sort of episodes of something, it will no longer be that. It will become EastEnders. Do you know what I mean? Okay. I think that's everyone's thought process. I think that's the fear.
Is that versus kind of an art versus commercial divide still?
I think so. Yeah, but I think
kind of a very French attitude, isn't it?
But we've seen it's possible.
Right.
obviously with The Wire, with other things like that, that you can watch. I could watch more of The Wire,
Right.
like so much more. Like Homeland. There's been loads of different things that have kind of just kept. Breaking Bad was another one that. For me, stayed stylish, stayed cool,
stayed fresh
the whole way through.
Yeah, the writing.
It's just about writing,
right?
Having the right writers and obviously a combination of the right actors. So I think eventually it's going to have to change with the rising tablets and the way people are watching TV now. It has to change.
I'd like to see some, real backing, private funding coming in, where people, like a Netflix cuts a check. Like, I don't know if you watch House of Cards, but, Netflix cut the whole check for the first season, boom, and then they went and shot it. And, that's been pretty amazing. I'd like to see
that sort of stuff is good. But I think it's going to happen because our viewers are going to start demanding it. Well, I hardly watch my TV now. I go and watch box sets on my iPad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? From all over the world. I can watch anything I want to watch. And now that is the new platform, TV are going to have to follow suit. Pretty soon BBC, even though they get the TV license and whatever, pretty soon they're going to be, if they keep on going on, they're going to have to change up the game. And same with all the other channels as well. They're going to have to move with the times, man.
Business model's changing. I canceled my Virgin like 6 months ago, and I don't use it now. I've got Apple TV, I've got Netflix, and I've got whatever box sets or something I download. So, is there going to be more Top Boy 3, 4, 5? You're probably always getting asked.
As far as we know, no.
Okay.
It's ended at season 2.
Okay.
Even though we were 70% sure that there was going to be a season 3. It ended with implying that there was going to be a season 3, season 2.
Right.
So, I don't know whether this is like one of those things they do when they go, no, it's not coming, and then they go,
negotiations.
Top Boy,
right.
Or there's like things going on behind the scenes or whatever. But I hope so, man. It's I've loved doing it. If I'm in all honesty, it's been the biggest thing I've been a part of from the UK. It's been my most successful franchise sort of thing.
Right, and you're enjoying it. You don't get tired of talking about Top Boy.
No, not at all. I love it. I love it.
What about Hollywood? Would you ever move to LA? You seem like a Londoner through and through.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to picture you hanging out in LA with Will Smith. I don't know, but I mean, like that's where the movie business is. Well, that's changing actually. It's fragmenting. But have you thought about moving out there? Would you ever move out there? What do you think of LA and Hollywood?
I think LA is cool. I've been out there many times. Not for long periods of time. I think there's part of me that gets a bit scared by it. It overwhelms me, and I tend to sometimes run away from things like that. So when people ask me, I'm like, yeah, well, if they call me, I'll go. I don't know who, but
Right. What? Scared of the opportunity? Is too many possibilities?
No, it's kind of I'd love to make it in Hollywood, man. It's an actor's dream for that to happen. And anyone tells you anything different, they're being an idiot.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm ready yet.
Okay. You're 31.
In age, probably I'm ready.
How many in dog years? You're like 100.
There's probably not a lot of time left, really, to do it. But I always live close to the edge, close to my deadline. I've always had this plan about 35. It will kick off for me the way I want it to. And hopefully at that time. I've seen it, there's a huge fair. I've watched kind of how it works, the pattern. There's a lot of black actors that have gone over to Hollywood and disappeared.
Okay. British?
Yeah, British, yeah. Okay. There's a lot of them that's done really well.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of them that do medium well.
Right.
There's a lot of them that do well for a very short period of time and then come back home with their tail between their legs. It doesn't always work. Out of all these, I'm not naive to think that it's going to happen for me and it's a given. So I do want to have something solid behind me here, and I don't think it's solid enough yet.
Okay.
I want to produce in the UK. I want to build up the UK scene a bit more. I want to direct some films and make a name for myself in that sense, I think, over here, and do some more good work, good acting work.
Yeah, Idris Elba springs to mind, right?
Yeah.
He's a
Idris,
friend of yours, right?
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
And he was in The Wire, right? He was Stringer Bell, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Gee, I really like Stringer Bell. And, you know, people didn't even know he was British at the time. There's like, what, 3 people in that cast, right? Dominic West, Idris, and then there was another guy.
The other police guy.
The black guy, right?
Black
With
police guy,
yeah,
yeah.
he was some people still don't believe me when I try to tell them, especially Americans, that Dominic West is British. They're like, nah, you're wrong. Or Idris. But like you see Idris, you know, he was at The Wire, you know, starting off, 10 years ago, and, you know, now he's Mandela, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's been the guy that's kind of made that Hollywood leap.
Yeah, oh yeah. His journey is like my dream.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It is. And he's respected. He's so credible. Over here, we love him. Like,
yeah.
He's the most down-to-earth, humble guy you can meet. And we just respect him and respect his journey and what he's doing. All right, cool. Every now and again, he will do a big blockbuster thing that we think, whatever, he's doing that. But go and get your money, man. Go and make your paychecks and whatever. But he does some really cutting edge stuff, and he's brought the game forward. I grew up kind of watching him, and I saw him struggle, I think, as well. Like a lot of black actors do in the UK.
After The Wire or before The Wire?
No, from before The Wire. This guy's been acting for years, man.
Yeah.
Like, for years. So, and it's just not happened in that way. But it's just, you know, how old is he?
40s?
Early 40s, whatever.
Yeah.
46, mid 40s. I've got a few years left.
You got time. Yeah.
Like, it can happen.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm content. But it is in my mind, America is there. My agent is like, you know, pilot season, what we think, we're going to do it this year, whatever. But she's not like, get over there. She's just kind of, when you're ready sort of thing.
I'm not an agent, but I think it's right to take your time. And like you said, you know, things get out of date real quick in Hollywood, you know? So you want to come in and not just be the flavor of the year and then like lose that and you make the wrong move. Because, you know, it seems like Hollywood can be brutally unforgiving, you know?
I mean, it looks like it that way. It looks that way, man.
But then this is the year of famous English black actors with, you know, Chewy Tall, you know, in 12 Years a Slave. I saw him in Othello at the Dunbar Warehouse about 8 years ago here in London. And man, I was well impressed. Well impressed. I was just like, and that's, you know, the Dunbar, it's a really tight place in there. And you're right next to him. And
nice space.
I mean, you know, that's been a great year for him too. You know?
Yeah, I think, Chiwetel as well, man. He's another like amazing.
He's the classically trained stage actor.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I think this is what we bring to the States as well. And I'm not that guy, you know.
You have some experience there, but you're not that guy.
Yeah, I'm not really.
I heard you do a mean Shakespeare though, Romeo and Juliet. You know for that.
Thank you. But I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, that's not my opinion, but yeah, I think I've got a long way to go with Shakespeare. I have a huge fear of Shakespeare.
Why?
So I don't get it.
Okay.
I haven't totally got it yet.
Okay.
I've been going up for things, you know, at the Globe. I nearly did King Lear, playing Edmund at the Globe. I did about 10 castings for it.
Okay.
They kept on calling me back every day because they wanted me to get it so much, because it would have been a major thing to kind of have me there doing that, and I just couldn't get there.
Okay.
Couldn't do it.
Do you think it's something that you might need to be a bit older to get? Do you think Shakespeare takes a while to like get into your brain?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just think I'm scared of it.
Okay.
I think once you're scared of something, you put up a barrier, don't you?
Is it because also it's been done so many times? You probably have it in your mind of so many ways to do it.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. I mean, kind of when I did that Romeo and Juliet piece for I think it was for the BBC, wasn't it? I was given a bit of freedom to do it my own way, you know, not as what they call it, RP, not as, you know, well spoken and whatever. I was
the
just
classic way everyone assumes you do Shakespeare, because you bring so much baggage to the table with Shakespeare. Because since you're 4 years old, you've been listening to it done a certain way. Right?
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, if it doesn't sound like that, you know, sometimes you just don't. It doesn't feel right to you, or it just doesn't sound right. You know, I've done films where I've been speaking like that. You know, I'm playing my characters the way they speak and whatever, and it's like doing a different language. Like, I spend so much time focusing on how I sound and whatever that I blatantly forget about acting.
Okay, right.
And it just, you know, so it's so doing Shakespeare is like, is a difficult thing for me. Is we have a difficult relationship, but I would love to be able to achieve that, and I'm in awe of people like Chiwetel, who can go from doing that to doing something like Top Boy, to doing something like, you know, African and then this and that and whatever, and it's just, and making you believe them every time is an amazing thing.
Right. What do you think of Steve McQueen, and what did you think of 12 Years a Slave?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Have you seen any of Steve McQueen's stuff?
No.
Okay, I'm a big fan because he did Hunger with Michael Fassbender about you know, hunger strike, and then he did Shame, the sex addiction one, and then 12 Years. So
yeah, I mean, I've heard about it bubbling up and whatever. If I'm honest with you,
yeah,
I saw him one time at the is that the BAFTAs?
Yeah,
I think, and that's when I realized he was black.
Okay, because of the name?
Yeah.
Because of the Irish name?
Yeah. I was like, you're Steve McQueen? Because I haven't watched the films or anything. I've seen bits and bobs and pieces here and there, but I haven't really focused on it.
Right. Well, if you watch Hunger, I mean, there's nothing black about Hunger.
Yeah, no, I know.
Not that there would be from just a black director.
There'd be nothing probably in them that would make you know that he was a black man or whatever. But I was just surprised I just immediately assumed that he was a white man, that he was a white director. So when I met him, I thought, wow. Oh. But it's the same again, man. I have a slight, when it comes to networking and stuff like that, I always think about that. Because he was with Chiwetel at the time. And I don't know what film I think they've done a few films together before this. They've done a few things, I think.
Have they?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. Or maybe one project before the one they just done. But I always kick myself thinking, I don't talk to people.
You don't, you're not the networker.
No, more importantly, I probably come across as a bit mean.
Well, maybe, hopefully they'll watch this and they'll realize it's not true. Because you tend to not interact, which people just think, oh, he's just being a dick.
Arrogant, he's being a dick, yeah.
Okay.
But really and truly, I'm like, you guys are brilliant.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Okay. A lot of performers are really introverted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of successful people have issues that make them successful. There's a reason that Steve Jobs is doing the crazy shit that he does and to get the company to where it is, because they got inner demons inside them that make them go out. They're probably inner insecurities that make them do all these big things. People forget that.
I think so. But like I've been saying, you're expected to be someone. There's this whole, there's this actor's way sort of thing. You're meant to behave. You're meant to do things, you're meant to talk about, say how you talk about things and whatever. And you go around and meet loads of different actors, and that's how they all are, most of them, 100%. Every now and again you'll meet some, like when I met Tom Hardy, me and him were just like, click straight away.
Okay.
Because he's not that guy. Like,
I believe you.
He's just like, I'll talk if I want, if I don't want to talk. I don't care what people think about me. That's his whole demeanor, his whole attitude. And as much as I do care about what people think about me, I'm kind of like, I'm not going to conform to what everyone expects you to, to do. But at the same time, you can miss out on just making genuine relationships with people. But I just believe this thing is so fickle sometimes that, when people ask you, what are you doing and what's going on, it's more about, I hope you're not working as much as me, sort of thing. I've got that thing in my mind, innit? It's just like, that whole, it's just an actor's thing, innit? And it just, every conversation you have with actors is, it's just all anecdotes.
Okay.
When you sit down with a group of actors in a room, and you're on a new film and you just meet each other and you're having a drink at the bar, it will all be anecdotes. I know that guy. I don't know Clark. Yeah, what did he say about you? There was this day that we did this and whatever, and everything just becomes about stories of their experiences and their lives and whatever. It's boring.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like that would get a little old after a while. So that seems very Hollywood, You said recently that you sometimes you're not always feeling every single role you do, but sometimes you think that maybe you're here for a bigger reason, which is maybe just to inspire people by seeing you to do other things. And I heard you say that, and I just made me really think, about a lot of things that people do. Even maybe what I'm doing sometimes is that maybe it isn't about your immediate success, but maybe it is about inspiring other people. And I was just wondering what you meant by that.
Just meaning that you know, as much as I love what I'm doing, and it can be quite lucrative at times and whatever, and I'm getting some sort of fulfillment out of it. Maybe like, you know, the bigger picture is that it's about incremental steps towards something else. I'm only pushing the door. You know, someone else has already pushed it open a bit before me. I've come and barge it a bit more, as much as I can, maybe a bit further than the last person did. But when I'm gone, someone else is going to push that even further. And, you know, in that case, it's not about what's going to happen for me while I'm here. It's about the others that are coming. Someone who I always believed that, you know, that everything I do, some little kid probably wasn't meant to be watching Top Boy. Some 8-year-old kid or whatever sat down watching Top Boy maybe in the morning before he goes to school when his mum don't know what eating his Cocoa Pops. He's going to be the next big actor, innit, one day. But he would never have known it if he didn't see my black face on the TV or someone, just like if I didn't see Idris's or Adrian Lester's or Chiwetel's or whoever else came before me. So in that respect, you know, you get to... I've become quite comfortable with the fact that whatever happens now, I've done enough. I know that, like, I've set some sort of trend. I've inspired some people. I've changed someone's journey. So it's a good thing. And I believe that, you know, just like the other greats or whatever, I hope I would be remembered after. Not have to make a statue of me or anything, you know what I mean? But just like when it comes to the process of how, because there was a day when black people weren't on TV at all, you know what I mean? Or it would be like one or something. And now it's like commonplace. And I'd like to think that I had some involvement in that and that it's quite historical.
Does it need to go further?
I need to go a lot further, I think. I think there's no... I mean, let's take race out of it. There's no limit for where any of this can go. The way technology changes, how more intelligent people will become and whatever over the years. And, you know, there's no limit to it, I don't think. So it's just, yeah, I'm happy to have been a part of something. And maybe if I wasn't, all the cards never fell the way they did, it just wouldn't be the way it is.
They say film immortalizes people, you know, and it does. I mean, you know, they can't ever take Top Boy away from you. It's going to be here. Forever, even after the nuclear war, there'll be a digital copy somewhere. You know, that's pretty trippy to think about sometimes.
It is, man. It is, and it's good. It's just good to know that, like, you know, hopefully in 1,000 years' time, just imagine there'll be someone, you know, watching it or whatever they would do to it. Then they might put it inside their brain by then and be able to just see it. I don't know, but I'm saying, it's like it's just good to know that I did something good. I did what I was probably meant to be here to do.
It's weird to think about that digital footprint. I think about it sometimes when I do these talks. It's like, you know, we took a slice in time today on this Thursday at this point. You know, in 3 months from now, you're going to be a different person. I'm going to be a different person. But there'll always be this one entry where anyone can always access and be like, oh, okay. And that was actually that day. And now we can see it. And then, like, that'll always be there. There's something a little crazy about that.
It is weird.
And that wasn't the case 50 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have to be a movie star.
Yeah.
And now we're all kind of, in a weird way, immortalized in a certain way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the everyday person on their Twitter, on their Instagram, on their Snapchat, whatever you want to call it, and their iPhones and that. You know, everyone's kind of putting a piece of themselves out there. Every time you upload something to YouTube or whatever, that can always be found.
I know, forever. That's a crazy thing. You know, I ask everybody on the show when we finish up at the end a few questions. I'm going to hit you with them. If you can make a phone call to the 20-year-old Ashley Walters and give that young man a bit of advice, what would you tell him to do or not to do?
I would tell him, I wouldn't tell him to change anything, to be honest. I'd tell him to embrace his journey that he's about to encounter. And don't be scared, because it's all going to add up to something good.
would you listen to the guy giving you that advice? Would you listen to the 31-year-old?
I don't know. Probably not. That would probably put me off. But yeah, I hope that I would. I hope that I would. Because to be honest, if I'm honest with you now, I'm happy how things have gone. I wouldn't want to change anything because that potentially I might not be sitting here talking to you now if I did.
Right. On that same note, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh. Best advice probably would be, and I know it's a slightly cliche, but everything happens for a reason. My mum told me that a lot. This kind of ties into the first thing you asked me about, just embracing what happens around you, or trying hard to find the positive inside the negative that it may seem like at the time. I've lost, so it's mainly been when I've lost work that I really, really wanted to get, and I've not got it, it's gone to someone else. And my mum will go, well, everything happens for a reason, it doesn't matter. And then 2 weeks later, Top Boy, you get Top Boy.
Right.
And you're like, okay, that makes sense.
Right, that you would have had to turn down if you took the other one.
Of course, yeah. It's paths. I got offered Transformers, the first one, Tyrese's part. And I remember being in, what is it? Spielberg's office or somewhere in LA with my manager, and the woman was like, well, we really love you to do this part if you were up for it and whatever. And I just signed a deal for Life and Lyrics in the UK. I was like, I can't do it. I don't regret it though. No, I look at it now, obviously it would have been a huge film to be a part of and whatever, but it's not really pushing my acting skills. It's not really something that's really gonna get me noticed and push my career forward and whatever. I've done some brilliant work in the space of time that I would have been having to film that as well. That has got me so much critical acclaim and given me my longevity. So, yeah.
Well said. Last bit of that is to the 20-year-old that's listening to us from somewhere around the world, could be Australia, China, America, whatever, who wants to, I don't know, someday be a musician, someday be an actor, someday be like you. What advice do you give them?
I'd say first and foremost, make the foundation great. That, it will give you some pace in what you're doing and give you some real solid support. When I say foundation, I mean your home, your mind, yourself. Get that all into gear. If there's things you need to change, change them before you go on that journey, so you can give your whole heart to that. Second of all, I'd say you got to live for like the 10%. When I say that, I mean 90% of this game is, you can't do it, mate. Now you're going to fail. Nope, we don't want you.
Right.
Sorry, door's closed. And then you get the 10% where you win. That's what you got to live for. See, if you can't get through that 90% to get to that 10, don't even bother trying.
People probably don't even believe that you get rejected for roles,
all year long, all year long.
So it really
the ones
is.
you see is the ones I get, really. It's as simple as that. And that's probably like 2 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? So, you really have to be prepared for rejection and understand that that doesn't mean that you're no good and that you should stop. It means that you should keep on trying and keep on refining and honing your craft.
You got to take the pain to stay in the game.
Yeah, that's it, man.
I think there was another quote from you where it said, if you see someone who's successful, it's because they've been just trying at it longer than you have, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I say to people all the time. The only difference between me and you is that I'll never give up at doing this thing. Simple as. There's no disrespect to anyone. It's just like, people ask you all the time, like, how'd you get so much? I don't give up.
That's it.
That's it. I just don't give up. Like, I may give up, like, I'm going to stop trying for that because it's not working. But that is a strategy. That's like, you have to be good in business, to know when to say enough is enough. If you keep on losing money, you can't keep flogging a dead horse. You got to go, like, I'm shutting that business down. I saved myself a lot of time and energy and whatever that I can put into focusing on this other project, you know what I mean, and whatever. So saying no to something or walking away from something is not necessarily giving up. Giving up is feeling that you cannot achieve your goal, that the end game is just pointless, that it doesn't exist, you know what I mean? I've always believed that I am going to be as big as I can be. Do you know what I mean? In this world, in this game, in my life. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to fulfill it to its full potential. And if the minute I stop believing that, I've lost. I've lost. Do you know what I mean? I'm on my way back down. So never.
Powerful words. If people want to get in touch with you, 8082, and find out what you're working on, production-wise, directing-wise, what's the best way? Follow you on Twitter? What's the best
follow
way?
me on Twitter, at Ashley Waters82, at Ashley Waters82 on Instagram also.
You're active on Twitter, right? You like Twitter?
Yeah, I like Twitter. I like Twitter. I haven't really been in the last 4 months, but I'm not going to lie, it's become quite corporate. But I'm coming back, people. So, yeah, add me and follow me. Most stuff you'll find out through that. My website, ashleywaters.co.uk or 8082.co.uk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're doing some directing coming up. Do you like directing? It's tough, man.
I did my first short, and it was difficult and tough. And I didn't really like the experience, to be honest, that much. I'm hoping it gets better.
Okay. It's just a lot of things. I guess everything comes to you, right? I mean, everything's on you at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just having that responsibility. Yeah, you know, every department wanting to know, what do you think?
Yeah, and everyone on the set has their own agenda, right? The actor wants this, and the DOP wants this, and this wants this, and you're like, I'm trying to make a film, right?
Yeah. And you got to try and bring those things together and make them work. It's a difficult job. It's a difficult thing to juggle, but I think I work on the basis a lot of the time that no pain, no gain. So I love to have a challenge for a shoot to be difficult. But at the end of it, if I get that good piece of work that I wanted, I'll be over the moon. I forget about all the hard times. I'm ready to do it again.
Excellent.
No worries.
200th episode, Ashley. Thanks so much. You know, I didn't know what to expect. My first actor on the show, and you were super honest, man. So I hope you had fun, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for representing Britain in all its greatness.
Yeah.
As we say on London Real, it's about the journey. I wish you well in yours.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, man.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Cheers.
What we call reality is in fact nothing more than a culturally sanctioned and linguistically reinforced hallucination.
This week on London Real, we have spoken word artist Sully Breaks.
We always have this idea in our mind that we're going to get to where we want to be, and then we can sit back and be like, I've made it, now let me enjoy life. But the enjoyment comes from the journey. How would you feel if I told you that crazy people would one day rule the world? I relate to the tech industry because it's all rebellious, you know what I mean? And the fact that you get people to fund these rebellious ideas is winning, you know what I mean? If education is the key, then school is the lock.
What is this tour around the world in 80 days?
As an artist, your work is based on your experience. Imagine if you had lots more experiences, if you met a lot more people. And I mean, my goal to release in the next year is an album, a portrayal of my work, and something that is representative of everyone. We will not let exam results decide our fate. It's a journey into inspiration, innovation, and information, I suppose.
On Sunday, London Real presents Sully Breaks, spoken word.
You're going to grow older, you're going to grow wiser, and you're going to look back at these things in a different light.